The moment his hand touched the small of her back, something inside me snapped. It wasn't the touch itself, it was the way her body responded. The way her shoulders relaxed, the way her lips curved into a smile she hadn't given me in months. The way she looked at him as if the room had fallen away and there was no one else left but the two of them. The music thumped through the floor, a slow, rhythmic pulse that mirrored the pounding in my chest. Around us, laughter and glasses clinking filled the air, but I heard none of it. All I saw was her, my wife, Emma, pressed close to another man. Daniel. My oldest friend. My best man at our wedding. And as his hand slid a little lower, as her gaze flickered up at him with that unmistakable mix of comfort and desire, the floor beneath me seemed to tilt. I gripped my glass so hard my knuckles turned white. I could taste the metallic sting of jealousy in the back of my throat, sharp and bitter. She used to look at me that way, once. Before the long silences. Before her phone became a secret she guarded like a weapon. Someone laughed beside me. I barely registered it. My eyes stayed locked on them, the slow spin of their dance, her fingers resting against his chest like they belonged there. Then he whispered something in her ear, and she threw her head back and laughed. Soft, intimate, familiar. Something broke. The glass slipped from my hand, shattering against the marble floor. Heads turned. The music faltered. Emma's gaze snapped toward me, her expression a flicker of guilt before she forced a smile. "Ethan," she said, walking over quickly. "What happened?" I stared at her. "You tell me." Her lips parted slightly. The crowd's attention began to drift, sensing tension they didn't want to witness. Daniel stayed behind, awkwardly pretending to adjust his cufflinks. "It's just a dance," she said, her voice steady but her eyes betraying panic. "You're overreacting." "Am I?" The silence between us thickened. I could see the faint trace of lipstick on Daniel's collar now that he'd turned. A detail so small, yet it screamed louder than her denial. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "You know what I see when I look at you too." She swallowed hard. "Ethan, please. I see the nights you said you were working late. The messages you deleted. The way you've been different. Stop it. Then tell me I'm wrong." She didn't. Her silence was the confession. My pulse roared in my ears. The room blurred at the edges. I turned to Daniel. He finally met my gaze, and for a split second, his face softened with something that looked like shame. "Ethan," he began, "this isn't." My fist connected with his jaw before he could finish. The sound echoed, sickening and final. Daniel stumbled back, hit a table, and went down hard. Glasses toppled. Someone screamed. The world went still. Emma gasped, rushing to him, her hands trembling as she tried to help him up. And that, more than anything, destroyed me. Not the affair. Not the betrayal. But seeing her kneel for him, the way she once would have for me. I stood there, chest heaving, watching as she whispered his name. Security moved in. People whispered. Someone pulled me aside, muttering something about leaving before things got worse. But I barely heard them. My entire world was playing out on that floor, in front of everyone. My wife and my best friend tangled in guilt and disbelief. I walked out without looking back. I sat in my car outside for what felt like hours. The night was cold, the city buzzing distantly beyond the fogged glass. My hand throbbed where it had met his face, but the real pain sat deeper, somewhere behind my ribs. I replayed every moment leading up to that night. The nights she came home smelling of cologne that wasn't mine. The way she smiled at her phone, hiding the screen when I walked by. The late meetings. The sudden fights over nothing. And still, part of me didn't want to believe it. Because if I admitted it fully, then everything we'd built, 5 years of marriage, 7 years of friendship, was a lie. My phone buzzed. Her name flashed across the screen. I didn't answer. A message followed. I didn't mean for it to happen. "Please, can we talk?" I stared at it, the words burning into my mind. Didn't mean for it to happen. As if betrayal were an accident. As if the nights she spent choosing him over me were slips of fate, not decisions. I opened the glove compartment and pulled out the small velvet box I'd hidden there 2 weeks ago. Inside was a necklace, A gift for our anniversary. I'd planned to surprise her tonight after the party. How poetic. I turned the key in the ignition, the engine rumbling to life. But instead of driving home, I headed to the river. The water was black and endless, reflecting the fractured lights of the city. I rolled down the window and held the box in my hand, feeling the weight of everything I'd lost. And then, quietly, I let it fall. It hit the surface with barely a sound, swallowed instantly. Just like us. 2 days later, she came by the house to pack her things. Daniel didn't show his face. I stayed silent as she moved from room to room, collecting fragments of the life we'd shared. When she reached the door, she hesitated. "Ethan," she said softly, "I never wanted to hurt you." I met her gaze. "You didn't just hurt me, Emma. You hollowed me out." Her eyes filled with tears. For a brief moment, I almost believed she regretted it. But then she turned away, and that illusion vanished too. As the door clicked shut behind her, the silence that followed wasn't empty, it was cleansing. For the first time in months, I could breathe. And though my hand still ached, my heart finally didn't.